It's gonna do more.
Call the meeting to order, Planning and Zoning Committee. Robert, would you start us off with the prayer, you mind?
Sure. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for the protection that you provided Wilson County as the storms came through. And Father, as we meet tonight, we pray for wisdom in our decisions, that whatever we do would be the betterment for all citizens of the county. May the things that we say bring honor and glory to your name. And it's Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
We have minutes. Take a minute to look through them.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Let's go, how are you, sir?
I'm ready, Mr. Chair.
Pretty good, sir.
I move to approve as written.
Got a motion, got a second. All those say aye.
Aye.
Public comment, do we have anybody from the public wants to comment? Tonight, moving right along, Tom.
I've got two items. One is a zoning amendment, trying to help us more or less on the zoning enforcement front with regard to home occupations versus something that's not a home occupation. I don't know if this will completely solve our problem or issue, but we've elaborated quite significantly on what is currently in the zoning ordinance under home occupation to try to detail out what we will and won't accept as home occupations. We've also put some criterion in, one of which is such home occupation provisions will also include the following characteristics: no use of commercial dumpsters or commercial waste receptacles beyond use in relation to temporary on-site construction or roof repair, or in relation to natural or man-made disaster that has befallen a particular property, fire, earthquake, tornado, etc. Temporary use of such waste receptacles for the above listed excusable reasons should be for no more than 90 days. I forget what B was, but it's deleted. C, no security lighting beyond 30 foot in height. Again, you got to keep in mind that if you're doing a home occupation, you're typically doing it in a residential area, so we don't want huge commercial lighting staffs or masts with regard to the poles. No more than one commercially branded vehicle or one heavy vehicle such as a dump truck or semi-tractor trailer, and no more than one piece of heavy equipment that can be carried by trailer. No outdoor storage or anything beyond parking area for a single business related vehicle and business related. Single piece of equipment and associated trailer listed as allowable. Home occupations must generally receive inventory shipments by UPS or Amazon delivery rather than by semi-delivery. Any vehicles or equipment related to the claimed home occupation must be stored on site in a driveway or within rear yard and off a public right of way, out of front yard and out of side yard beyond parking in a designated driveway. No outdoor storage or business inventory of scrap materials beyond the single vehicle and trailer with equipment outlined as allowable for home occupation in item D above.
Can I interrupt you a minute?
Yeah,
Back to D, are we saying that you can have a tractor trailer in a residential area?
yes, because we do have several truck operators that have to live somewhere and they've got a bobtail rig they bring home.
Bobtail, I
Yeah.
can understand.
That's one thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, if y'all want to clarify that during the county commission meeting, you're welcome to have a committee recommendation for that or whatever.
Like a
I don't think we need any 48 footers in
Uh-uh.
a residential area, 53 footers.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand somebody bobtailing home.
Or a dump truck. I mean, same thing. I mean, dump truck you can't take the back off of typically. So, I mean, we've got again dump truck operators all over this county that if they're
Drive to
living
and from
somewhere
work.
and they drive to and from work with their truck, that's their daily driver. I can't really tell them they can't park it at their house. But if they've got 3 of them or 4 of them, that becomes more of a contractor storage yard.
Could it be, instead of semi-tractor trailer, be bobtail tractor?
Just change the wording.
You could. I mean, you could recommend that.
It's
I
simplified.
mean, it's easy enough for these people, they're gonna drive out of their house, they're gonna pick up a trailer somewhere anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're not gonna.
well, that's the point I was making,
Yeah.
you know about a 22 of a 6-foot big versus a
I-
6-foot.
So amended here?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to amend that.
So,
From semi-tractor trailer to bobtail tractor?
Yes.
Uh, Okay.
I don't know, with bobtail, is that a? generic
I know what
term?
that
Not,
is.
I mean, I know what it is, but I don't,
What's the real?
Trac-
I don't
say
know.
Tractor only?
I can research
Tractor only? Yeah.
semi-tractor only,
Tractor only.
Let's,
semi-tractor
let's
only.
go through, see if anything else we vote on all at the same time, that's all right.
And then under related restriction,
Let's see, you had a motion though, you want.
Second.
Did y'all vote on that?
Have a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I thought I might have missed it.
How's that?
okay, so I'll change the language to semi-tractor only
Mm-hmm.
instead of semi-tractor trailer. Under home occupation, definition of related restrictions outlined above should not be used to obstruct the use of equipment on site at any residential property for the purpose of farming and agricultural activities. That's just a big, wide, open, exception that is pretty well protected under state law from what Mike might tell you. Farmers have the ability to do farming, and sometimes farmers use, honestly, tractors and tractor trailers and dump trucks and other things. As long as they're doing it in the course of their farming, they're welcome to do that. Barber and salon services shall generally be viewed as a home occupation so long as the facility possesses no more than three client seats on site. That's
Where
from
did you get these definitions?
that's from the last time. That particularly is from the last time it was
I like
before this
them. I
committee.
Okay, I like it, I just didn't know.
Yeah.
Thinking about Jeremy Ridge.
Uh-huh. A real estate office may also be considered a home occupation under county zoning so long as the office meets the other criterion of the home occupation definition, and the agent lives on site within the primary residences and does not employ more than one off-site employee that reports to work at the residence. Firearm sales and firearm repair or smithing operations will generally be viewed as allowable home occupation so long as stated hours of operation are between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. and so long as there are no more than 3 clients on site at any given time.
Do you have that in county land, for example, and that's where?
We used to take them before the Board of Zoning Appeals, and this was, we went round and round, and Mike can tell you this too, between us and the ATF, somewhat changed with administrations, both senatorial and presidential administrations. We would have someone come in that was more or less an authority that would give us a kind of set of criterion or line of demarcation. And then 2 years later, we'd have somebody from that same agency show up that was completely backwards from what the first one told us. So finally, Mike, in his wisdom, just asked one of them one day and said, if the local authorities, Board of Zoning Appeals, votes to deny one of these, or what are y'all going to do with it? And they said, we're likely going to permit it. And that was when Mike said we need to push this on into home occupation
Yeah,
because
they just wanted an address anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
but the
about-
crazy thing was they were telling you, we're not gonna consider this until you approve it. But if it said, what if we don't approve it? Well, we're gonna approve it anyway. Wait a minute, what?
I remember
You know, I wasn't,
so
I mean,
anyways, we pushed it
Bulldogs
into,
may follow that, I didn't.
we pushed it into home occupation as long as they can meet the other criterion of a home occupation. A lawn care business will be considered a home occupation so long as it does not bring refuse or scrap materials. Now, this one's kind of important because this is what the planning commission changed. A lawn care business will be considered a home occupation so long as it does not bring refuse and scrap materials back to the location of the claimed home occupation for burning, composting, or stockpiling when the property is less than 5 acres. For properties greater than 5 acres, burning, composting may not occur within 250 feet of a neighboring residential dwelling. Burning must be at the rear of the property or to the rear of the property. All lawn equipment beyond that allowed otherwise under items A through G of the definition of a home occupation shall be stored indoors. And then there's some other uses. Art, pottery, and photography studios shall generally be viewed as home occupations so long as home occupations above are ascribed to and provisions are that's supposed to say home occupation provisions above are ascribed to, and so long as no more than 2 sessions are on site at any given time. So I need to put provisions in there. The existence of county business licenses shall not ordain a claimed home occupation as a legally operating business within residential zone districts for zoning purposes. A detached structure may be used in the operation of a home occupation so long as it does not exceed 25% of ground floor area of all structures on the property, and so long as the overall home occupation does not exceed 600 square feet in size. Got a bit of discussion as well, both at this committee and I think at planning. I think they chose 600 square feet to be in line with what you allow an accessory dwelling unit to be at present.
That's what I remember.
And then that's the next section 2 is just the general clause that allows you to truncate parts that are found to be unconstitutional or against the law by a court of law. And then the above listed amendment shall take effect upon approval. But anyways, that one has been through the planning commission with a recommendation of approval, and with that one provision about lawn care businesses, which did get a good bit of discussion, because they did not necessarily want to stop a young man or woman from running a lawn care business as a way to start up, capitalist spirit, I guess. But they also did want to try to maintain some level of protection because, believe it or not, lawn care businesses are the source of several complaints on a yearly basis because of bringing too much stuff into neighborhood setting or burning or piling up a bunch of refuse. If they're just taking the mower out, one kid or maybe 2 kids in a truck and a trailer and going and doing their thing, that's one thing. But when they start having, 12 employees show up in the morning and park the cars up and down the street and or bringing in a whole bunch of tree roots and stuff to burn in the afternoon, that's where it starts to cause problems.
What about I assume we're talking about mowers and stuff like that be stored indoors, does that mean most of these folks that have these have a
If-
mower or 2 mowers?
If they've got it parked on the trailer, we're not going in, but if they're, what we're trying to avoid is having more than one trailer and also having a bunch of equipment piled up in the backyard. Because again, that becomes more of a contractor storage yard
But you don't see a problem if they come home with 3 lawnmowers on
on one
a
trailer.
1-foot trailer and tag along trailer back.
As long as they can pull it into the backyard and out of sight.
They're gonna pull it out
Yeah.
next morning.
And again, this is probably not perfect, and you're probably
Right.
gonna see me again about it.
Put the pleasure committee.
I think we've looked at it enough.
Yeah.
In the last 3
It's
months.
better than it's ever been. I'll say
You gonna see
that.
it, Jim?
No, I think it's Cherry Ash got the seal of approval on it.
I mean, you're just gonna have to renumber all the letters and reference to,
Yeah, that's it.
A through G. It'd be A through F.
Yeah, move your letters
You
up.
have to fix all those letters.
Oh, because B being
Yeah,
deleted.
because you've lost B.
I could just leave B in there deleted. But I'll change it if you want me
Yeah,
to.
you could.
Make a motion to leave James B out.
Like Metro.
Committee.
That's how there's on the ordinance.
I'll make the motion to, we accept it as amended
And approve.
and approved.
Got a motion to accept and approve as recommended. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second, motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right, the next item, is not something that's a zoning amendment. This is a freestanding, our adoption of building codes is kind of freestanding actions or resolutions by the county court. And, we adopted the 2021 suite of ICC codes, previously, I believe in 2023. And, as such, after starting to implement them, this, by the way, was intended to give us the ability, when we're ready, to start enforcing commercial building codes, as well as several other things. And in the course of evaluating some of what we were doing during startup, my chief building official saw the need for some appendices that are also ICC documents to be adopted separately. You looked at something similar from WEMA not too long ago, where they adopted some additional appendices with regard to the state fire marshal's or the local fire marshal's position that we've adopted or implemented, and the need for him to be able to perform his job effectively. They adopted some additional appendices of the National Fire Protection Code and the IFC as associated with fire codes. So what this is kind of the equivalent of that on the building inspection side. It would, I'm gonna see if I can get down to the now therefore be it resolved part. You guys can read through the whereases and why we're doing it. But be it resolved that we adopt the 2021 existing building code, the ICC A117.1 2017 standard for accessible and usable buildings and facilities, the 2021 International Pool and Spa Code, the appendices of the 2021 International Residential Code, a commercial/industrial remodel/interior build-out fee of 15 cents per square foot would be hereby adopted, and a commercial plans review fee of 1/2 the price of the building permit cost, and a residential remodel permit fee of 30 cents per square foot. I'm going to let Chris talk about these if he needs to, or if you've got specific questions. I know the International Pool and Spa Code is more or less, we've had some questions from the state of Tennessee, want to know why we're not enforcing the standard fence around pools and things of that nature, and we typically do. In fact, most of the insurance agents want some kind of barricade or fence, but this will allow us to do that in addition to some other things with regard to pool and spa code. The existing building codes and the remodeling codes would allow us to start maybe being a little more forward leaning on when buildings transition. We've got a lot of warehouse space that's built speculatively, and if somebody comes in, well, first of all, if it's one of those buildings, 9 times out of 10, the person that's hired to contract and remodel the inside calls us, want to know what our codes are, and we tell them, sorry, we don't currently have any internal remodeling codes, and they're like, oh, okay, and so then they go their merry way. But
Go start building right then.
yeah, but this will allow us to start enforcing an internal remodel code, both on the commercial side. I think he's got the language for the residential side as well.
Question, well, Chris, can you, Chris, kind of explain each one of the different codes and how they affect and how the fees were generated, please, sir?
Well, the fees, I just pulled directly from City 11, because I
Okay.
thought it'd be uniform with them. Would be
Okay.
great. The existing building code is for it's kind of a companion code of the IBC. So you say you build something new and it's connected to something existing, then it just sort of gives you a little more language and things so that you can enforce. There's not much added to it. It just
New build has to
like
meet the
change
code,
of
but
use or something like, so you put something new and you're gonna change the use of that, then that existing building code comes up.
you can put something new beside something that's 10 years old and the codes have changed, the new one has to meet the codes, so that you don't have to, especially in a remodel. Okay,
Correct, and some of that language is in that.
okay.
The IBC that we've already adopted does have an accessibility chapter for, wheelchair ramps, things like that. But it doesn't specify which one we use. I just wanted to specify the 2017 was the one that we would be looking at, because there's some older ones. Of course, then the pool spa, like he explained, just gives us the ability to enforce the fences.
What else
Gates.
is it besides that?
Well, to be honest, a lot of it is commercial uses that we probably won't ever see. At least we don't right now.
Motels?
Yeah, things that we don't see. But
You might see it on homeowners association pools, like common area. What do you call them?
Common area?
Common area pools.
right.
Yeah.
So there's, there
Public-
would
This would
be,
require fences
it would, yeah,
in a common area for, HOA.
yes.
Everybody.
Yeah, they're gonna probably do that anyways in a common area for liability, but this is gonna require the fences on private property, which most people are gonna do anyways, but we don't have anything
Backyard.
in writing, yeah.
Keep the neighbor kids out.
Right.
And animals.
And a deer.
Yeah, and, talk about the build out a little bit, please.
So, and when you get a commercial permit, he kind of touched on it where they'll build out a shell and then they sell it, and then somebody else comes in and says, well, I'm gonna finish it up and do all, we just don't have a fee for that. So it's just establishing what we can charge in the case that somebody comes in and finishes out a build that's already been there. So they can't claim what's been claimed in the past of, well, there's no remodel fee, or there's no we don't do remodels. On the residential side, for example,
I'm gonna call Diane.
Every time.
That was good, go ahead.
We're all going to jail.
He's gonna veto something.
On the home pool, retainer fence, basically, are we gonna grandfather anybody that has one that's had it for 20 years and without any kind of fence?
right, I would do it just ongoing, so whoever pulls in,
I mean, I don't really see an easy way for us to go backwards on
Catch
people.
'em.
That's, because my daughter, they've sold a house now, but they had a pool. The house they bought had a pool, did not have a fence around it now, but they don't own the house anymore. So I just wondered about that one.
okay. Guessing that we don't, I think that's.
I don't guess
kinda
you
had to do.
require to do it except in the new structure, correct?
Right,
That's what he's
Right.
saying.
You recommend it, but
right.
can require it, yeah. But back to that, somebody builds a shell or wooden tent, so to speak.
Yeah, right.
And then they sell it for build outs, and they have to come back to you with plans, the size of that wooden tent, and so here's what we're gonna do, you know, rooms or whatever, that's what you're talking about, more or less,
Yes,
right? Okay.
And then I just established that on the residential side as well, because, I mean, we've had people claim that they don't have to do anything because they tore down the foundation down to one stud wall.
Mhm.
So this is a remodel, it's one stud wall standing there. And, it's, you know, it's really just, there's so much gray area there. And,
Trying to get around.
right, so just in the, we wouldn't have the intention of being like the city of Brentwood and saying you gotta have a permit for a window or anything. I'm not interested in any of that, but if it's like you're tearing the house halfway down, loads, are changing, or you're changing something from attic to living space in a remodel, might apply.
City of Belmead's got a code, if the garage comes down, it's got
What?
garage or barn, any unattached structure, especially barns. Barn comes down,
It's gone.
Belmead, barn comes down,
There's no barns in
can't come
Belleville.
back up.
If,
Weird codes for us.
if somebody has the house down to remodel it, I don't know if there's any examples out there like that or not, but would they stay in it or would they move out for a period of time while they're remodeling it? Should that be abandon the house for a period of time? It looks to me like it.
There are been a few cases where they just didn't touch anything but just one side, and they were in it, but most of the time nobody's in it while it's being remodeled.
It's abandoned,
Right.
they moved out.
Mm-hmm.
To my commercial or residential.
Oh, residential.
Put a trailer in the front.
I did it
Well,
wrong.
tractor-
I did it
I
wrong
mean,
when I was a kid. When I
camper
first got married, I remodeled. I lived in a remodel. It was no fun.
Sometimes they'll put up big plastic, put up a big plastic barrier and the thing, and they'll be on this side. So sometimes it works.
Is there anything, Tom, in there that needs to be addressed if they're remodeling?
Not that,
And-
not that
and
I can,
don't- And don't live in the house.
not that I can think of. And honestly, that's part of why Chris is here is, you know, he's got much more of the logistical knowledge of how that's going to work. Cause that's something we're not doing now, but we would be potentially.
What's the pleasure of the committee?
I don't see a problem with it. How long have we had building codes? Hasn't been that long, has it? When we first-
Last year?
No,
No, it's
No,
been a few.
when we did
We've
the
had
ICC.
buildings-
2000,
The ICC.
either 2009 or 2011 is when we adopted
Yeah.
International Residential Code.
Start just a little bit at a time.
Yeah, we've updated.
And then that, because that's what the state mandated.
Mhm.
They were, either we were gonna do it or they were gonna come in and do it for us.
Yeah.
And Bobby did not want that to be the case, so he decided we would do it. And, Bobby Sloan did. And then, we adopted International Building Code, or the commercial codes, and industrial codes, if you will, and fire codes, I think in 2023.
If the commission approves these Monday night, we don't have an effective date. What if we start August first, if you look on the back pages?
It won't go Monday night, well, don't you have to run public notice on the,
I
Zoning
don't know if
amendment.
this is, I don't know if this is not a zoning amendment.
with the other one though, isn't it?
The other one is a zoning amendment. That one will have to go in August.
August,
But this one, I'm not sure if Georgia put it on this agenda or
the packet's already gone out, it's not in the packet.
it's not in the packet.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
so
put
it'll
it
go
in
in
August.
August.
Yeah.
So would it be effective, the date of the approval, or
September first, whatever.
Yeah, unless y'all set a date.
Put a date on it. And then let the commission, if you wanna modify the date, amend it, move it, put a date on it.
September 1, does that work?
September
The
1
state-
is fine.
The state does it all the time. They'll put a date on it, say the public welfare demands it.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
it's approved September first, right? Does that make sense?
Be effective at that public
Yeah.
welfare.
Yeah, I think your meeting in, August is like the 17th.
19th?
Is it? Okay.
Mr.
July
Cruz, he
4th.
knows.
I know where
It is the 19th.
Yeah.
Gonna be on a boat?
Well, no, yeah, actually, because we fly out on the 4th to get back on the 28th.
If the packet's already went out, I don't know that I can change that stuff on the, well, no, it's not.
There's nothing in the
Yeah,
packet.
so I can do it
No,
all.
it's-
So you can do it all, it'll
Okay.
go out in August.
Okay.
Pleasure committee.
Motion to approve.
So,
Have a motion approved.
so
We have a second. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Yes,
Come up in August. Anything else from anybody? Any
That,
other business, Tom?
did y'all decide on September 1st?
if it gets approved in August, right?
Yeah.
September the first, public welfare demanded.
Get out of town.
Will you write that or do I need to?
I can do it.
Okay. Just go ahead if you don't mind.
Yeah, it looks like we've already done this. That looks like my font or whatever they call it.
All right.
I will just make a comment, it has nothing to do with this, but, it has on our, on-street parking, off-street parking. The homeowner association of Langford sent out a note. And copied everything, and my God, there must have been 500 comments on it. And, so I finally said, listen, this issue has come up. Blame me if you want to, I'm on the committee. We got people walking that can't get around these cars. And so the homeowner's gonna levy a $50 per vehicle per offense fine.
Okay.
If it's not paid within 15 days, it accelerates.
Whoa.
But
This is the homeowner doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, they're gonna start taking pictures, getting tag numbers. I mean, it's gonna be a fiasco, so if I come in one time, in a wheelchair with, bandages all over my head.
You've been to the Canyon Olympics?
They're gonna burn your car.
No, it's in the garage, it'll bring a house. Anyway,
Don't you wish county government had that size of
well, see, their complaint was the garages that were built
Are
at
too
that
small.
time don't accommodate the size of vehicles now.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you clean the dadgum garage out, at least you can get one in there.
Yeah.
True.
Cheryl, entertain another motion?
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Yes, sir.
With
Yes,
your
sir.
permission.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead,
And I
sir.
think that I've talked to a couple of y'all at nauseam about this. And, Commissioner Franklin, I think that you know the gentleman in particular as well. But I was contacted by a gentleman that lives just outside my district with an issue that had not come up before. If y'all remember the Rollins property that we rezoned a year ago, January. Fast forward to this year, and TVA is bringing in a transmission line to a power substation that this development is going to require in order to have enough power. Well, that's one of the routes that it's going to take. Potentially is going to basically completely devalue part of this property. It's a little sliver between 231 and Old Murfreesboro Road, out about the county line of Rutherford County. It's not very wide. It already has a Middle Tennessee Electric line running parallel to it, and then if you bring TVA line across it, then that's gonna, it's not very wide to start with, so if you have to stay on either side of that very much. So he contacted me, just, you know, this is an unintended consequence that we didn't see coming of a larger rezone. So his argument was, and he's got a point, that that should be something that the planning commission would consider whenever one of these large requests come before us. Not knowing exactly where to start with this, I talked to Tom, I believe, if this rings a bell. And I know that Diane was on an email with the gentleman as well, and Mr. Ash.
Mr. Atlas.
Yes.
I know Mr. Lance.
Oh, yes.
What
I don't know
authority
how-
we have?
I don't know that we have any, cause they have
TVA.
the authority to condemn.
Yeah.
They do have the authority to condemn, but his argument was that this is something that should be, you know, considered at the beginning, whenever, just the same as.
But basically, Mike,
utilities.
it's similar, his argument is similar to why Jerry, and others on the county commission started requiring us to have a general, kind of drainage and environmental, document presented with each, rezoning request, so that they can kind of get an idea in general terms of what they're looking at on a particular piece of property, so they can kind of determine or consider the impacts of development of that piece of property, at the time that something's rezoned. And so I think the argument is that this is, again, something that maybe the county commission ought to be able to consider before they rezone property, is what are the impacts, what are the anticipated, I guess, electrical and gas needs
Electrical in particular.
or electrical, gas, and utility needs, and from whence do you anticipate getting that? My only two hesitations about it is, number one, I don't know that a developer can rightfully anticipate from whence a power source or a gas source or a water source is going to come from without the utilities say so. I mean, they can put something on paper, but it may or may not come to fruition. And then second, all they might be able to do is say this: we're going to have this power need, or this gas need, but in terms of where it comes from, that's more or less the utilities purview. And then I got into a discussion, I think, with Haskell about, this is my second concern, kind of leads into it, about the fact that we have invited all of our utilities, water, sewer, Middle Tennessee Electric has even come forward and given us a contact name a time or two to keep in touch with if there's things and they want to get copies of the agenda, which we give them. And generally speaking, we've not seen a whole lot of, for instance, Middle Tennessee Electric at our meetings, other than if there was a specific issue they had a specific concern, very specific concern about. Same thing with the gas companies. I think it's Middle Tennessee Gas came to the Middle Tennessee Natural Gas came to the table about some activity in Noreen at one time.
I do believe that it would be a fairly limited number of projects that might require their own substation house. This was, 500 some odd acres of the Rollins property out there that was just in Wilson County that got rezoned. And there was probably another 1,000 acres nearly in Rutherford County that
Well,
requires.
I invite all comers in terms of utilities to, as we speak, to be involved in our planning process and give them copies of the agenda to date, the ones that are pretty active about being involved are the, West Wilson Utilities, a
Yeah.
little bit active, but particularly, Gladeville Utility District and the Water and Wastewater Authority are pretty much at the meetings, at the planning commission meetings.
Mike, I got a question.
Yeah.
The eminent domain that they have the authority to use as a public utility, I guess the rules apply, just like when you build a road. If you damage somebody's property building a road, it just erases their use of the property.
Yeah.
The damages are a lot higher.
You
In
pay
other words,
for it.
You have to pay for it. And so,
They have to pay fair market value.
see,
Yeah.
fair market value. So if this did in fact do, and I'm sure it has, I mean, I'm not, I kind of know what this problem is. That part of that property, you can't do anything with it, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
And the way the condemnation thing works, Bobby, the state of Tennessee or Middle Tennessee Electric, or anybody that's got the condemnation power, files a lawsuit and they get an order within like 5 or 7 days giving them possession of the property. But the landowner doesn't have to settle with them until the road's constructed or the power lines built or whatever, where you can assess the damages. Because if they take a lot of your road frontage,
Right.
you know, but I'm just sitting there, here's a thought, see what y'all think about this. These folks like the state of Tennessee and I'm guessing Middle Tennessee Electric, they just don't vote today to start building a power line next month. So they've got to have some kind of 5 or 10 year plans, wouldn't you think, Jude?
I would say.
And,
One,
and why,
TVA is also involved. 'Cause
yeah, so.
He is the industry.
Yeah.
So could we ask them, they don't have to be really specific, but to share with us what their plans are the next 5 years, next 10 years? And when I say not really specific, they may not be able to tell, Haskell's,
Who are you asking to share?
where they're going, but they can say, we're coming through this area somewhere in 2030.
I don't believe that this was part of their 5 or 10 year plan until this property got
Sold.
rezoned.
That's right. Which
I got a question along the same line of what you're talking about. I think you're talking about step two. Step one would appear to be that if a developer came in, bought 500 acres of land, said, I'm gonna put 400 or 600 houses on it, then somewhere in the system, they ought to see what the power demand's gonna be. You know,
Right.
it's gotta be an average per house on there.
Yeah.
Multiply it times 600 or 400, whatever. And can existing power supply power furnish that part? And if they can't, then why would the planning commission approve it until such time that
Or are
that
you,
you go to step two that you're talking about?
yeah, or are you gonna have a power need for a power station,
Yeah,
substation?
Step two would be, well, we're gonna go back to Middle Tennessee Electric and they're gonna say they'll have power there in 3 years or 5 years, whatever. And that's when the planning commission should approve it at that time, I think.
Maybe the thing to do is for
Pardon?
planning staff and Haskell, myself, whoever wants to be involved, is ask Middle Tennessee Electric, Middle Tennessee Natural Gas, the utility companies come in and talk to us and say, look, we're facing this issue from time to time. We need to know kind of where you're going so that our planning staff can say, kind of like you do with the Century Farms. And I know it's nothing similar, but when you do your recommendation, you say, we've explored, there's no Century Farms in the area. You
Per
have
our
to
map.
say, yeah, but you say, Middle Tennessee Electric has advised no power, extensions or whatever here in the next 5 years or
Power
whatever.
requirement.
They're not gonna turn down customers.
No, they're gonna do it, but I mean,
they're gonna do it.
they ought to share it with us. I mean, they're not competing with anybody.
No.
But I don't know if
But
you ever get
again-
They're gonna
TVA to,
supply,
I mean,
when that site-
like this example, TVA is the one doing a I'm assuming it's a high tension power line array going to a substation they're wanting to plop down.
This is
And-
such a rural
and-
problem.
And I don't even know where to begin to get TVA to consider coming and having it.
But they're always, just
Yeah,
like
they
back when they had the power outage, y'all remember when it got so
Cold.
cold and the last thing every one of them said was, if there's anything we can do to help you, let us know.
We're
Well, you can help us.
You
Here's how you can help us.
You
still
got
got his
3
name.
directors and I can pick up the phone call and I've done it before.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
I've talked to people at TVA and Middle Tennessee
Electric.
Electric, Middle Tennessee
Yeah.
Gas, all three, but
But I think we need to establish, if we
A
can,
relationship.
some type of plan. Yeah,
Well, the
relationship.
the planning
And-
commission,
I agree, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, exactly what you're talking about, step
Yeah,
two, but I don't think the county government or the planning commission ought to approve anything till that plan's in existence and we know power's gonna be there.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman,
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
whenever anything else comes before the planning commission, that they have to consider sewer, they have to consider water.
They
He's
used
just asking that electricity be considered the same way as these other utilities.
Is that happening, Dave?
I don't know, never heard of it, I mean, we've never done
It's,
this.
it's not been in
It's
the
just-
urban areas because it's so abundant, but in the real, where there's nothing out there,
where it's
where they're
moving
gonna
out.
have to come across and
Quickly.
walk. Yeah.
Oh, I can,
This is a rural problem. I mean, and I think the planning commission, they normally get.
I can name two
Yeah,
things that have come up or come about. One, the planning commission, this is also on their radar. They've asked repeatedly about road commission involvement, law enforcement and emergency services involvement in our planning process, in addition to these utilities. The other thing I'll mention is that we did, as a county, approve and implement a local fire marshal position. And that local fire marshal has in turn, went with WEMA's support, and the emergency management committee support to get, fire codes adopted and additional appendices adopted. And as it's my understanding, he had a meeting today with the public utility providers, which honestly I wasn't aware of until today, to let them know about some standards he's going to be looking for levels of fire protection. I think it's 1,500 gallons per day. If someone wants to do a subdivision, or per minute, not per day, a flow, or in the alternative, sprinklering those developments. But that was not a meeting I was party to or anything. It's just, those are things that are occurring that I think speak to what your question was about, are we even considering this? And I think the answer is yes, they certainly are considering it. Maybe to the detriment of some people that don't want to see it considered quite as heavily as it is.
In a lot, you probably know it, but in a lot of the larger, more advanced areas than we are, they require sprinklers at home.
Well, it's part of the International Building Code requirements, and the state of Tennessee allows both the state that does local building inspection enforcement in other communities, but also local communities that adopt building codes to opt out of that particular provision.
Tom, won't this really come down to being a staff function more than the planning commission? I mean, I don't know how you implement it
Well,
early enough to his suggestion.
yeah, I mean,
You're gonna have to do the asking, right? You're
and
gonna
I have,
to bring it
and,
in.
and to answer that question, I have asked, and I do make sure that they, at their request, they have copies of each agenda that comes out each month. At least Ways Middle Tennessee Electric does, and the utility districts do.
I mean,
Not sure about
specifically
Middle
on
Tennessee Gas.
a major development, 500 houses way out on county line, on rural county line,
Mhm.
like this. I mean,
The Tucker's thing.
something has got to cue this up.
Yes.
To his point, of what, I mean, we're pretty good about water and sewer, right?
We're talking about these checklists.
Yeah, how do we cue that up in our system where this don't happen again?
Well, I may have gotten too broad with my idea, my thought, but how do we help the gentleman we're talking about? Tell me again what he wants us to do.
Let me ask a question right quick.
Yeah.
Along the line, are they gonna put a pole tower on his property, or they just run the line across the property?
There's gonna be a pole tower.
Okay.
And
Now, he's not really looking for us to do anything. He just feels like he's collateral damage, which I see his point. Because this is not something that we ever considered. That's not something I ever thought
Yeah.
about whenever we were talking about the Rolling Star.
Has he given them the right to put that pole on there, or they?
He is
can't get
not
the right?
yet. He's still hoping that, trying to convince them to go a different route that will actually take it either down 452 or down 231 or through State Park property.
And every time that, particularly at the level TVA is operating with the big towers, the 160K lines, that they or 161K lines, they are always controversial when people catch wind that they're coming. Because to that point, I remember when they went down 840 to the new substation that's just north of Couchville Pike, there was quite a bit of, chatter, amongst people about that routing, and TVA actually had to have public input, public hearing periods.
Already had their public hearing on this.
Had they?
When did it happen?
This was back in March, I believe. I went to it,
Where was it?
it was at the building.
Which is why they're not gonna wanna share the 5 and 10 year plan with us, cause as soon as it gets out there, that maybe a power line come through in 2035, people are gonna get up tomorrow. We don't want it.
They don't wanna fight that fight till that, so.
That's exactly, kinda like raising taxes. You don't wanna talk about it till you actually have to vote to do it.
But back to your point, Mr. Gates, and that he wasn't really asking us as a body to
Okay.
do anything other than, going forward, this is something that should be considered. And,
So how-
and I agreed with him.
And I do too. How to do it is a little bit,
How to queue it up in our system.
Yeah.
In our,
I have
He's
good
good.
contacts with Middle Tennessee Electric, and I'll be glad to reach out to them and just let them know that, hey, this has come up. Do y'all have any ideas? But,
I think
to
maybe.
get TVA to come to the table, I think may be a stretch.
I would think probably that, I don't think government can stretch so much, but
You find up a little bad publicity bill.
Well,
you know,
All you done is go to
Should be
work that
something
time, it'll
that-
work.
that the planning commission could ask. I mean, if they're in a situation where there's a large number of warehouses or a large number of houses, a big development, a big chunk of weight, what's your projected power needs, do you think? Do you have input from Middle Tennessee Electric and TVA, is this gonna require?
And
Well,
my question is, particularly let's just take the one you're talking about. If they develop, it's probably gonna be speculative warehousing for the most part. About all they're gonna tell you is, well, we're gonna put 3-phase power in all the buildings.
who's gonna say it? The developer?
The developer, when he's trying to get it rezoned, cause he don't know that Nissan is coming and they're gonna need what their power needs are.
somewhere y'all be able to determine, y'all be able to, from a little black book or something, what the general power requirements are gonna be.
Yes,
And then look and see whether or not the existing system will provide that, and if it doesn't, put everything on hold until such time that they can plan it and agree to it, and,
Yeah,
or at
maybe,
least let it
maybe
be
I'm too,
considered as part of the process.
yeah.
pardon?
I said, or at least let it be
He
considered.
puts it in
as
his
part of the plan.
That's what I'm talking about, checklist.
That's the
Checklist.
But maybe I'm too simple here. If we know that we're about to, the guy's gonna develop 100 houses and he comes in and says, I'm gonna do it on an R1 basis and this is just a shot in the dark, but I'm gonna put 100 houses in there. Somebody ought to be able to tell us how much power is that gonna take?
And can
And
it
then you
exist
go
in
to
that?
Middle Tennessee Electric and say, are you gonna be able to provide it?
That's
Or
correct.
you gonna have to put some kind of substation there or a pole or whatever?
And the houses, I think you're right, is you probably can get some sort of metric. Where I'm really out in the dark on this is and I'll be honest, I would love to see every commercial rezoning quit being speculative and have a tire kicker here saying, we're bringing Tesla's rocket center here and that's what we're rezoning for. But that's just not the way it works, guys. As much as I would like for it to, it doesn't work that way. And you hear our developer after developer tell me, well, we've got some people we tend to work with,
We're
but
interested.
that we.
Now, they ain't gonna tell you what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
I don't
But if you
know.
look, if you
One
look,
of those
if
days.
you look at the other side of the coin though, and they're gonna put a whole bunch of warehouses in this 500 acres, then you could go to Middle Tennessee, the distributor, and say, what is the maximum kilowatts of power you can provide in this area? And then limit what you approve based on what's available. You know, at some point you're
That's
gonna
kind
have
of,
to.
that's kind of the same argument that we do with the
Okay.
SFUs on the
So-
sewer.
Yep.
So let me,
Line down.
let me,
Sewer line.
and I'm just spitballing at this point because we're talking.
Yeah, we are.
but-
I'm
but-
just-
So let's take that to the furthest degree. We rezone it based off that information. And then Tesla Rocket Center comes in here and they don't need 3-phase power. They need 15-phase power and it's gonna take all the power in East Tennessee, to suck into whatever they're doing. And
In the dark.
we say, no, I'm sorry, you can't go there because the property was zoned but the zoning allows that particular, it allows a rocket center. Then we get sued.
Are we limiting what can go in there, or are we doing it as a service?
It's non-approved.
Yeah, to say there's so much, it could take so much.
You limit by utilities.
But I'm thinking on Tom's thing, we limit it, and then they come in and say, I need 5 times that much.
And then I say, you can't go there, but the,
Because we
but the
only
zoning
granted approval.
entitlement allows it.
So they're back in front of the board of
I don't
zoning
think we
appeals
even
to get
have
a,
the- I don't think we have the authority to even do that.
I'm not sure we do either, but I do think we need to sit down.
Yeah.
I do think we need to sit down and have a discussion with them. And really, it's gonna come down to Middle Tennessee Electric. I was thinking about Middle Tennessee Natural Gas, but their lines are in the ground, they're pipes. Unless they're gonna put one of these little houses where they
Yeah.
regulate it.
Yeah.
But it comes down to Middle Tennessee Electric.
TVA.
Has anybody been out to Old Marker Road lately? There, I went to the VA hospital.
Well,
They're, I mean, the substation that's out there at Stumpy Lane, they're doubling the size of that. And the 50 kVA lines, which that's what EPA says you shouldn't have close to a school, anything bigger than that. We got a 161 run across the double O cabin campus, run across campus. But what I'm saying, they're gonna upgrade those lines to higher voltage and transform on the other end, you know, so. But that out there, they're building it now, it's 3 or 4 times the size of the courthouse.
It's huge.
Yeah, you seen,
Yes.
they got poles laying in the ground and put up, and all that, oil laying on the ground, put up and all that.
I don't, I
Have
mean,
we
it-
helped you in,
Sir,
have we helped you?
we've had the discussion.
and I don't mind,
Does that help
We've
you?
started.
Okay.
I don't mind reaching back out to Middle Tennessee Electric in particular.
We've had the discussion, whether it goes in very much comes of it or not.
How wide and how long is this property? You said it's long and narrow.
It is, it's probably, I don't know exactly, probably half a mile long, maybe 100 yards wide.
And again,
It's wide.
I don't mind reaching out to my contact with Middle Tennessee Electric and just saying, hey, this came up, and get their input or their ideas.
I wouldn't mind being in on that.
Okay.
call if
I
you-
wouldn't
It might
mind.
not be a half a mile long, but it's not.
I'm just
I'd like
out
to
of
be in on that
curiosity.
too. When we had the brownouts during the winter storm,
Mhm.
I went out on my own and met with the manager out here, told my chair of this committee.
Mhm.
And we just wanna know, I want to know, where we stood futuristically. Is it up there? He said, we got all kinds of stuff in this
Yeah.
town. TVA's the one that had the problem. They make power. We distribute power. So we got all kinds of distribution. They said it was like 62% of the capacity, Middle Tennessee. But TVA's what shut out. Now, imagine all this stuff coming out of Galveston, I'm sure.
Is that the one where TVA got, they
It
had all
froze
these contracts to provide it everywhere else and came time for us to need it here and they didn't have it?
And the plant down, where was it, Cheatham County? Somewhere froze up. Outside pipes, exploded pipes froze.
I remember those people standing there where the mayor sits and talking to us in there at night and saying, we're here to help you, you know,
Yeah.
anything we can do.
Yeah.
Of course, that's standard government talk.
Big PowerPoint too.
You're representative, Gov. You talk that way?
Try not to, but, you know, I'm kinda like.
I am here to help you.
Haskell's,
Right.
I wanna help people.
Sure.
And I wouldn't do this if I couldn't help people. So we need to find a way to help.
My point is, county government, no matter what body it is.
Do what?
It's tricky because you've got all these competing entities that all have rights.
Yeah,
Including, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like
Even the landowners.
peeling up a card here and saying, oh,
yeah.
But Bobby, what I'm saying, if we know there's not enough power there, we as a county body, the planning commission, both of us, whoever commission, shouldn't approve it. I mean, they may say, well, we can do it anyway, we're just gonna go ahead and do it. Well, that's fine, but we shouldn't approve it. We should be part and parcel to it. If we know there's
If we
not
know.
enough
You know,
power.
it'll be interesting. I don't know of any case law where anybody's done that on electric or gas and say, we can't provide it, so therefore we're not gonna approve your development. But it
we
makes
don't
sense
provide-
to me, it ought to be.
Is it allowed to not approve the development if they don't have sewer access? Don't have any plans for sewer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
are certain situations that we can.
So
And,
if they
and,
don't have an ability to power it,
Well-
or to prove that they can get the power.
well, there are there are
Yeah.
subdivision requirements to answer your question. That's in the subdivision regulations. There are a list of things you have 50 foot of, right, I mean, you have.
Yeah, yeah.
Road frontage, you have to have water, you have to have,
So
you
do
know,
you add this?
Water, sewer, or septic.
And-
that's where you.
And I
get this.
think
The only thing that's
counter from
addressed
the
in
other
the-
side is local government can't tell the feds what
That's
to
the
do.
truth.
That's,
ATF.
Well,
but
we take a stand though.
we can
tell
take a
us
stand,
what
we can
to
do it till they tell us we
And,
can't.
well, they may say we're gonna do it anyway.
That's the George Harding theory.
We can tell us we can't subdivide.
Yeah.
Were you calling me George Harding?
No,
Yeah,
no, I'll take credit.
He
No,
was.
I thought-
no. I like you too much, Fat Jim. But I go back to 2 or 3 of his sayings that always seem to pop back up. But I don't want to be the test case.
Really?
You know, hey, we denied this because we don't think TVA can give you the power. That's dangerous for us. But on the other hand, we ought to have some input on it, seems to me like. That's just me.
You said we don't think TVA can provide the power. What if TVA says they can't provide the power? Then why should we?
Then in that situation, we're in a stronger position because we're protecting the general public.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But they're not gonna say that, just like,
Well, Middle, it won't be TVA, it'll be Middle Tennessee. TVA gonna
could be,
send it out itself, Middle Tennessee's gonna be the one
could be.
that distributes it.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd have an interesting meeting tonight, just is.
Well, Haskell showed
Yeah.
up.
I know of at least one instance where a development fell through because they were told by TVA that they could not get the power requirements that they need. Statute of limitations has not run out on this, but I can't say for sure. But something very close in my
Secret.
district happened, and they were gonna require ginormous amounts of power. And so that deal fell through because they were not.
Was that here?
TVA told them point blank that they couldn't supply.
You're saying TVA, but it's Middle Tennessee.
No, TVA.
Well,
And I
TVA,
said, there's a
Sell
John
the
Morris, I said, there's a John Morris transmission tower half a mile away, that's not enough power, I said, no.
I'm not trying to create more work for you. If we have that I'll be glad to end that conversation with you.
Okay.
Throw out my silly
call me to
ideas.
sit in on that.
I'll be glad to
I've drawn
throw
a
out my
blank on the
silly
gentleman's
ideas.
name right now, but I've talked to him.
Well, don't sit next day or two.
Okay. Well,
Well, let's just go out and visit, no? Cold turkey. That's what I did, had a wonderful, people called in a couple of engineers, we sat there and talked around the table, and he said, hey, we got plenty of this music capability, we just not getting the power to TVA, can't sell it to you.
If you don't have anything to distribute,
Yeah, that's right, that's exactly
you
right.
can't distribute.
I think Brad Trice may be.
Yes, he's one of them.
Is it Brad Trice or Kevin Lee?
They'd be good PLCs, yes.
I'm just trying to make it worth y'all's while, not all the way here. from that
Thank
to-
you for that.
You so can.
Got our hour out of us, didn't you?
It's an interesting question.
It is.
I'm not gonna be able to quit thinking about it.
It really is.
I'm surprised that he didn't email you about
He
that.
has, but I hadn't
Okay.
figured out the answer to it because, I mean, I just don't really, I mean, I can't really say I know because you've got conflicting authority. And in many ways, the state is kind of under TVA, even the state.
TVA, you know, we talk about utility districts here and how they create us problems sometimes in the county because they have separate rules. You get the same thing with TVA and all of them. They're not really under the federal government or the state government. They're out here by themselves. They are.
Like the Federal Reserve Bank.
They're on
It
the
is.
authority.
I promise not to quote George Harding anymore tonight.
Oh, come on.
Nah.
Do we have
Go
a
ahead.
motion?
I think it's to adjourn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are we there?
Well.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, motion. We adjourn.
All right.